Next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Hefner.
Madam Chair, members of the board, would like to report that we've had a no. How does it? Oh, there it is. Yes, it is. I'm happy to report that the beginning of school has gone very smoothly. Today is we just finished our 14th day of school. It's going by very rapidly. And in my initial tour of schools, I would say that I found our schools looking great, but even more importantly is I found everyone on task everywhere I went. Overall, our infrastructure is working very, very well. Our teachers are teaching, our buses are running basically on time, our cafeterias very quickly started serving breakfast and hot lunches, and we are happy to report that we're fully staffed. I think before I go to my next report, is this we want to recognize Dutch Fork Elementary and let them do their thing before I go to my enrollment report here?
Are we going to be sitting out there during the enrollment?
We can be.
Or, I don't know. Mr. Bounds, you.
Well, because Missy has her report, so.
That's fine.
So when will we need to go?
We can do it. She wasn't going to do a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and do the enrollment report, and then we'll move if that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And after 8 years of basically having a flat enrollment in the district, I'm happy to report that our enrollment is up. In fact, as of day 10, which is our official day for one of our official checkpoint days, we're up by 189 students over the 10th day of last year. So we see that as a real positive sign that we have movement into our community. And to give you the specifics on our enrollment is Missy Wall-Mitchell, our Director of Accountability, who is our official number cruncher here in the district and is charged with responsibility for making sure our figures are accurate and we keep up with them on a daily and timely basis. So she'll share with you a couple of key points about our enrollment. Missy.
Thank you. I have to say the people that do the heavy lifting on this are the registrars who keep up with all the students that go in and out. It is a very very fluid thing. It settles out, like I said, and that's why we wait till the 10th day to present the things. As Dr. Hefner said, we have an increase this year. The enrollment on the 10th day was 16,900 students. There's about 200 more than we had the previous year on the 10th day. That was the total enrollment, which is any child that we serve for any purpose. The students that we receive state funding for, the K-12 EFA funded students, that would be the number that will be comparable on the 45th day report and the 135th day report. That was 16,449 students, which was about 150 more than we had the previous year. In your board packet is the counts by grade in school. I will say that you'll see like a 199 change in the total enrollment versus the 207. That's just, there were some no-shows in and out on that day, and so that's why you see the difference. I will say that right before I came over here at about 5:30 this afternoon, I did another check just because I wanted to know, and today the enrollment was 6,920. So 20 new students, or we've had an increase of 20 students since last week. So the later in your packet, the next one is the trend information where it shows the 10th day enrollment, and you see we've had a few spikes, but you see the jump we had this year. And then below that is a table that shows the change from year to year on the 10th day enrollment. The biggest change we had over the last 5 or 8, 10 years was in the fall between 2005 and 2006, when it had 219 students of funded. This year, like I said, we had 189, a little less, but it is the highest 10th day enrollment that we've had since I've started counting them. The other piece of information I have is the enrollment against the projections. We receive those yearly from Dr. McKibben based on the 45th day. And you can see normally they're pretty close, but this is the year that we had a large increase over the projected amount. Normally we're within 20 plus or minus. So that certainly the projections will be changed based on this newest data, and we'll see what happens next year. So.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate your counting the noses and making sure we understand who's in what category. And give us the figure when we count all of the students, including ours that aren't included in the 135-day count because they're pre-K, which we fund and the state doesn't fund, and our other populations. How many total students do we have coming in and out of our schools throughout the week?
Today we had 920 students that were, you mean the non-funded students?
When you count all the students who come.
Everybody, yes, any student that we have some responsibility for, rather the typical student that you think of when you think of students. It might be a 3-year-old that's receiving special education services through IDEA, or even a K-12 student that is not in regular instruction but just coming in for services. That's the 16,900 or 920 number. But those, the non-state funded students are backed out when we do our state-funded enrollment reports.
All right, so we're approaching the 17,000 mark in
Yes.
terms of numbers of
And
students.
I think, and Connie Graham back here needs a lot of credit for helping the registrars and doing all she does to make sure this data is right.
We appreciate it. Appreciate you very much, and your numbers are great, and we appreciate that tremendously. All right, do we want at this time then to move down front, and we'll do the Dutch Fork presentation
Yes, sir.
first?
If we could do the Dutch Force presentation, and then we'll move into the Office of Design and Construction, and then the Anonymous Alert presentation.
Before we begin our presentation tonight, just on behalf of Dutch Fork Elementary, we would like to welcome all of our visitors, including our school board, executive members of Dr. Hefner's cabinet. We are very delighted to host you all this evening, and I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to recognize the outstanding faculty and staff members of Dutch Fork Elementary, including our student ambassadors and parents. So at this time, would all DFES faculty and staff, student ambassadors and parents, please stand to be recognized at this time. All right, with that being said, Mrs. Drayton, we're ready to begin. Okay. Just a short clip, and first and foremost, we just want to say thanks to our CFO, Lynn Richardson, but also to our board for approving capital projects for Dutch Fork Elementary. Hopefully, some of you have noticed that our building looks slightly different than it did when you all may have visited us previously, just with tiling on the floor. We have a completely renovated and remodeled media center that looks absolutely fabulous. And while I'll say we are excited about those things, that our building looks great, what we're more excited about is our stance for learning as a school. And I would encourage any of our board members, senior staff, please come by our school anytime that you would like. And we want to welcome you to witness how we're not just teaching science, but we're teaching scientists. We're not teaching mathematics, we're teaching mathematicians. We're not teaching social science, we're teaching social scientists. And so we want to encourage you to come back, check us out, and great things are happening at Dutch Fork Elementary.
At this time, we'll go to our new design and construction report.
Thank you, folks. I have Chris Whitley here from Cummings Corporation to go through your monthly update.
Thank you, Mr. McAllister. Members of the board, appreciate again the opportunity to come before you and give you an update. Kind of weird with you sitting behind me tonight, but we'll start with Chapin High School. At Chapin, we have turned over the gymnasium and the fine arts building for use by the district now. We still have ongoing punch list and warranty work in both of those buildings, so after school hours, there's still some work taking place there. We've talked about the brick staining for several months at Chapin. We've had a bunch of that take place over the last couple weeks. They're not 100% complete. I would say probably 60 to 70% complete, and they'll be coming back in the next few weeks to hopefully wrap all of that up to everyone's satisfaction. Up in the kitchen and cafeteria renovation, we were currently installing finishes in there. Now, this picture was taken a week ago, but all the floor in the cafeteria is now down for the most part, except on the senior stage, but the bulk of the main cafeteria floor is down. We started receiving kitchen equipment today, and installation will begin on that tomorrow, actually putting the equipment in place and doing all the tie-ins electrically and plumbing to that. So that's going good. We have OSF coming this Friday to look at those areas. So hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be turning that over for full use by the school.
Any questions about the cafeteria?
Okay, we'll move on to Dutch Fork High School. Dutch Fork is substantially complete at this point. We're still buttoning up some of the landscaping work around the campus. We talked about the soccer field last month. That work should take place in the next 2 weeks, the regrading of that and establishing some grass out there. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be able to get that taken care of. The renovation area that we tackled this summer is now complete. That included a lot of the classroom, health science type classroom spaces at Dutch Fork. We do still have some data crews coming in and out of there, working on IT type things, but that work's substantially complete and being used by the school. We're going to have some paving repairs on that the new pavement that we did during the course of construction. There's some areas that need to be repaired. So over the next few months, there'll be some weekends and or holiday breaks for you guys that will be getting in there making some repairs.
Mr. Whitley, can you explain the pictures that we're looking at?
Yes,
Tell us
ma'am.
what
These are primarily the classrooms that once the health science building was open, we were able to get in and renovate. I don't remember the exact 9 or 10 classrooms to create new spaces for the school. So the one on the right is your main health science classroom, where you have mock-up hospital beds where they can do those type teaching experiences within the classroom.
And then what's on the left?
The one on the left is basically a computer lab that was created. I'm assuming it's being used as in the health science type computer lab. And then the right is just a picture that we had of an empty classroom right before school started, with them being done.
Can you tell me if these classes are in the new addition that we added, or are these in the old?
No, ma'am. Those are in the old part that we renovated as a result of being able to open up more space in that new addition. But it's all in that same general area of the new addition on the back of Dutch Fork High School.
Okay.
Any other questions there? Okay. Irmo High School, currently working on MEP rough end trim out in the auditorium. We have finishes going in throughout the auditorium. They started the terrazzo today in the west connector. Stage equipment's being installed. I don't know when the last time you guys were there, but the very bottom row of risers that make up the portion of the auditorium, all that has been poured. It's actually where this lift would be sitting in the picture to your right. That was dirt up until about a week ago. That's all now poured and ready to receive finishes and seating in that area. We're also currently working in the amphitheater that's kind of to the side of the new auditorium towards the back of the school. It's in between the existing school and the new auditorium. They're working on foundations there to create the amphitheater. So that work seems to be going pretty well. They've picked it up, I would say, in the last 2 weeks considerably over what it's been in the auditorium. So still going to continue to push. We'd like to get some more work going on, but things are starting to pick up there. Also, a big focus is the new entrance at the front of Irmo High School and in front of the auditorium. We're getting the concrete placed, brick pavers in, that sort of thing. And most of that works. The pavers are able to go on during the day because we have it fenced off, but like the new entry structure, most of that work's having to be done after school hours and on weekends, obviously. Then this past summer, we turned over the Cape Building renovation, where we renovated about 14 classrooms within the Cape Center. The home ec room that you can see on the left, where it's a full kitchen type area for teaching. Then there's some computer labs and those sort of spaces in that area.
Mr. Whitley, when do you expect the auditorium to be completed for Irmo?
The current schedule from the contractor shows October 3rd, and I think that's a little optimistic. I think it's going to push more into October. But in the past week, things have picked up considerably. The only thing I think that could really push it far out is if there's a deliverable item that we've tried to make a list for them to help them know what all we needed to finish so that they can give us delivery dates, and we've been tracking those dates with them closely now. So unless one of those deliverables slip, I think it's going to be in the October timeframe.
And what about the outside, the signs? When do you expect those to be completed? Or
The main entrance.
entrances, excuse me. Yeah,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
entrance.
I would say in that same timeframe. We have, in front, most of the flat surface work in front, the brick pavers and the sidewalks and concrete and all of that should be finishing in the next couple of weeks. It'll just be that main entry tower is the biggest piece along the front right now.
Any other questions about Irmo?
Okay?
Thanks.
Finally, the new middle school. Work's been going very well out at the new middle school. We're currently grading in the visitors parking lot. We'll begin putting in curb and gutter in the next probably in the next week they'll begin putting it in. We have the slab on grade poured now at the gym and the fine arts. We have foundations in at the first classroom wing, which is area D that we're starting in. That's coming out the front on that aerial picture, kind of towards Broad River Road. Those foundations are in, and then as you can see in the kitchen and cafeteria area, the block work's getting up in the air considerably there. And basically at this point, it's, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing guys sticking with the masons to get all this rough end done in the wall and then also below slab. But things are progressing well there.
So do you feel like we're where we're supposed to be with the
Yes, ma'am.
schedule?
We're on schedule
Okay.
at the new middle school currently. Any other
Is that it?
questions?
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions by the board?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And next, we'll have a report from our Office of Student Services. Our Chief Student Services Officer, Michael Harris, will share with you the Anonymous Alert Program along with, I believe, Mr. Regal, but Mr. Harris.
While he's making his way down, I was going to give you just a little more on the Dutch Fork repaving, where we've got those roads, because I'm afraid some folks are going to start to wonder about those roads. The one going behind the middle school and where we cut the road ties into the stoplight now. That's got to all be redone, and so, but it's kind of a 6-day window. That's why we've got to wait on kind of a long weekend. So that's we're gonna have to.
Why does it have to be redone?
Well, it's kind of failing underneath what was there. And if you notice the back road behind, if you've ridden behind the middle school, it's real bumpy, and we were waiting until the end because we had so much construction traffic on there. But they've got to put a sealer, I think, is what they said, kind of a cement at the bottom to stabilize that land underneath, so it'll hold up.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner, and to members of the board. We certainly count this a great opportunity for all of us to share with you, to introduce to you, more specifically to demonstrate for you what we consider a very phenomenal and extraordinary app that's available here in Irmo High School. And you may have read about, heard some talk about, and discussions in regard to the media attention that it has received over the past several months. We're very glad and grateful to Principal Dave Regal for embracing an opportunity to pilot this app entitled Anonymous Alerts there at Irmo High School. And I might pause and say with, I think, great results and phenomenal results. And certainly don't want to steal his thunder, but I did want to share this with you that we are looking forward to a continuation of this app and reducing incidents that occur on our schools' campuses. And it's an opportunity for our students and particularly our staff to report these items or report these incidents anonymously using the thing that the students use best, and that's an item that looks similar to this as well as their iPad. So without further ado, and perhaps following a clip that Mr. Bounds will show prior to Mr. Regal, we'll hear from Principal Regal in terms of the demonstration of the anonymous apps.
It's a reporting system for our school that we use. Something happens to you or you see something happen, you can quick send the report. I saw a fight this afternoon, and it was in gym. In Coach Williams' class, 2 young males got into a fight after the game. And then I could submit, and it's on.
The anonymous alert allows them to do it very quietly and discreetly. Nobody knows that it's being done, and they don't have to worry about the repercussions of a news switch.
I was wondering whether or not students would use it to make fun of or, kind of just send images or whatnot, but I don't think that's an issue right now.
There was this one girl that was getting bullied on the line, and it was at the beginning, and we didn't have an app then, but at the time, I would have definitely used it to help her get some help.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Harris, for inviting me tonight, and thank you, Board, for the opportunity to talk to you about something that I feel very strongly about, and that's the use of anonymous alerts at our school. And I can introduce it and just give you a little bit of background by saying that last year, over the course of the year, my administrative team and I, as we began to start looking at ways to improve school climate, make schools safer, we convened a group of students, and we called it the Conflict Avoidance Group. And basically, it was an attempt to have students advise us in terms of how can we reduce not just fights, but altercations, any kind of conflicts, bullying, any kind of situations like that that affect their, their feeling of security while they're at school. And the young lady in the video, Brianna Brown, was one of the members of that group, and because they're students, they look for technology solutions, and they were able to bring to us something that they discovered along with some help from our faculty members called anonymous alerts. And my administrative team and I began looking at it, and we became really excited right away by the possibilities of it. And we piloted it. It was virtually free to pilot it for the end of the school year. I mean, it was a very low cost. And we did it for about 6 weeks at the end of the school year, and we saw some pretty good results from it. There were some kids that had a little bit of fun with it. They wanted to, and that, actually, as we look back on it, that was an important part of the learning process for the students. They wanted to see if it really worked, so they would get on there and put, silly things on there, and as a result of that, that sort of the novelty faded after a week or two of that. But we had a number of actionable items that came from that at the end of the school year. We know of at least 2 occasions where we knew that a fight was avoided and prevented because of the app. There were some thefts that were reported, student harm, and we'll see in just a minute through a demonstration that there are a number of issues that we can address through this. As an administrative team, we were able to customize the app for our own school, and we'll show you the ways that that works. So what Mr. Harris asked me to do, and which I'm going to do now, is I'm going to lead you through a demonstration of how it works. This is an actual student iPad, so as you can see, we've pushed this app out onto every school-issued student iPad. So every one of our students in the school that has an iPad has access to this. Now, it's also accessible online, so if a parent wanted to make a report, they could do that. There's a link on our Irmo High School website that they can go to, and it doesn't happen very often, but we have had a couple of parent reports that have come from that. Also, if students choose to load this on their smartphone, they can, but one of the great things about it, from our standpoint, is we can make sure that every kid has this in their hands on their school-issued device. So from a student iPad, you would click on that icon, and then this is the screen that comes up. And so as a student, I'm going to hit Send Incident Report, and that's where I'll start. And as you see on this first, it'll take us through 3 steps here. And the first step, I want to call your attention to the top, because this is important. It says, please complete the information and submit your report. If this is an emergency, call 911. So just sort of a disclaimer to students that, if this is truly an emergency, don't use the app. Call 911 if it's an urgent matter. But I have several menus that I'm going to go through. The first one is the submitter, and so the student has to select that. And as I told you before, other people can use the app, but it's predominantly used by students, so I'm going to select student. And the building, this is a default setting that Anonymous Alerts has. In our case, it's Irmo High School is the only choice, so we'll select Irmo High School. The contact, again, this is something that we could customize, but the student can do one of 2 things depending on the nature of the item. They can either send this out to our guidance staff, or they can send it to the administration, and that automatically goes to our SRO our SRO as well. So we're going to send this one to our administration and SRO. And then incident. This is a screen that we were able to customize as a school. So my administrative team and I went through all of the different things that we wanted students to have the opportunity to be able to report. As you can see, the choices we came up with are bullying, cyberbullying, dating, violence, or abuse, drugs, family abuse, neglect, fighting, a gang-related issue, a catch-all category of other, self-injury, sexual harassment, suicidal thoughts or threats, theft or robbery, and weapons. And we did include our guidance staff in developing this list of options here. So I'm going to say bullying. I feel like I'm being bullied here lately, so I want to pick that one. And then the location, there are several, again, this is a customizable screen, and so we can select locations that make sense for our campus. So I'm going to say this one is off campus. And then the last item, I can hit priority normal or high. I'm just going to say normal. This is not an urgent situation, so I'm going to leave it at normal. And then we're going to type in test because this will actually generate a real anonymous alert. So we want the folks who get this in their email to know that we're just doing a demonstration here. So test, and I'm going to type in that Mr. Scott was bullying me at the last principals meeting. He sat next to me and was poking me with his pen. So we'll just say Mr. Scott was bullying me, and we'll leave it there. And then all I do at that point is I'm going to hit submit report. Now, this screen, once I hit submit, it'll ask me if I want to upload an image, and because of some recent things that were in the news, I want to explain this. This particular app does not allow me to take a picture or a video from within the app. However, it does allow me to attach an image that I have stored on my device. That's actually really, really helpful because, especially in the area of cyberbullying, and this has happened on a couple of occasions, what the student can do is they can take a screenshot from a social media site. If someone were calling me names on Twitter, I could take a screenshot of that, and then I can attach that image here when I submit the report. And we've trained our students when we roll the app out, we train them how to do that. So I'm going to say no. I don't have a picture of Mr. Scott picking on me. So, and then this screen, it allows me to be contacted. So it is anonymous, and it truly is anonymous. We cannot locate, the source of these reports. But what can happen is I can enter and we're not going to do it right now, but I can enter my email here in this portion. And if I do that, then the administrators who receive that, they can reply to the email, but it's still anonymous. It goes through the app and is, I don't know the technological term for it, but anyway, it's hidden, and then it comes, we can communicate with each other without knowing this person's name. Or if I choose to, on the next line, I can identify who I am if that's something I want to do. So once all that's done, I'm going to hit submit. And then I will receive confirmation there as a student. I don't know why that's blocked, but and then again, it does on the last screen have a feature where they can dial 911 out from this screen, okay? Obviously, that only works if you're connected to the internet. We have not tested that. We've been working with our SROs, and we're going to try to come up with a test of that to see if that actually works, but that's not something we've actually tested. That's something new this year. Since last spring when we did it, Anonymous Alerts added that to the device. So we haven't had a chance yet in these last 2 weeks to try that out. Now, what happens then is we'll hit done up at the top, and we're done, and it goes right back to the screen again. And what will happen next is that the administrators and SROs will receive an email that has the contents of that alert. So that's how it works. It happens immediately. We get that, and then we can act on it. The way it also works, because I have a district-issued cell phone, it sends a text message to me as well. And then from that point, I can follow up with my administrative team, and I can get on the radio and make sure that somebody's responded to that. And obviously, it would depend on the seriousness or severity of it. We pushed this out last Tuesday. We've had a couple of actionable items already just since Tuesday. where we have been able to intervene. We were able to intervene in a theft situation and solve that. So just in the 1 week that we've had it out, we've had 2 actionable items already. I think it is, and it's not expensive. I gave to Mr. Harris our invoice for what it was for us. I don't know if he gave that to the board or not, but it's a reasonable cost. We're really happy with it. I think it does a lot of good to make our students and staff feel safer. And I will say that I feel as though I've noticed a change in the climate of the building just since we've done that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if not, I'll just turn it back over to Mr. Harris here.
Does the board have any questions?
I'm just curious, when they copy an SRO, is there any expectation that people are going to get overrun reading text messages and not doing their other duties during the day?
We don't get that many. I would say, yeah, I understand the question, but it doesn't strictly go to them. It goes to administration and SRO. Obviously, we want it to go to the SROs in case there is something urgent that affects student safety or school safety. So it goes directly to them. But no, we haven't found that to be the case. We don't have those number of, and as I said, it just takes really a second to look at the message and see it, and to know whether, yeah, this is something I need to respond to immediately or something that can wait. So, but yeah, the numbers haven't been that overwhelming. And since last Tuesday, like I said, we have had 2 that we've been able to act on. But I'd say we've probably had fewer than 5. Now, when we first rolled it out, we were getting a lot. But like I said before, it was the novelty of it. I think kids were sort of playing with the device, but that wore off after a week or 2 and sort of slowed down to sort of a normal time. Yes?
The 911 would take a while for a responder.
Yeah.
The process to go through that, how quickly, once a student's pretty adept at this, can they get to that point of alerting some kind? I would think you'd want the SRO and 911, but how quickly can a student get this message out?
Well, part of our training for the students is that if it's an emergent situation like that, then that's probably not a time for anonymous alerts. If there's someone who's there doing us harm, if you feel like that's the only way you can do it, then by all means go ahead, and somebody will get that almost immediately. But we really want them to use other means and to go to an adult if there's something that is imminent. And even something less serious than somebody on campus to do harm. But if they see a fight that's about ready to start, and it's if they're within a few moments of possibly the fight starting, we want them to go get an adult. We want them to act a little bit more promptly. But, the challenge that we face is students won't always do that. And that's what's great about anonymous alerts is students don't necessarily want to be seen going to an adult or going to a principal's office or something like this. This is very private, and they can do it without anybody knowing that they've reported it. Yes.
Mr. Regal, I know that you fight fire with fire, and I think this is great in that we're fighting cyberbullying by using technology. And I think it's a great program. I hope some of our other schools will also adopt it. I want to thank you for that.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And that concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Well, I remember you saying you wanted more information.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hefner and your team. That was excellent presentations. And next is our public participation.